Bhaskar. I called him Raja, so Bhaskar wasn't coming. But I've been asked by Bhaskar to give an overview of positive psychology. And since it is such a vast area, I cannot speak too much about it. And given the time, it will just be a broad brush presentation. Now, in the present times, in psychology, we find that a silent revolution is taking place across the world. It comprises of the application of positive psychology across generations in building a healthy, happy, and flourishing human population. Now, what is positive psychology? Positive psychology is the scientific study of those aspects of the human being which enable them to thrive or have a good life. Now, it all began. Before that, I must say that whenever we speak about positive psychology, we have to mention the psychologist Martin Seligman, who is known as the father of positive psychology, although he started out as an experimental psychologist, and whatever he has given us in the field of positive psychology is evidence-based. Because psychology is a science, follows the scientific method, and whatever I tell you today, it is all based on evidence from across the world. Now, it all began with the discovery of a phenomenon which was called learned helplessness by positive psychologist Martin Seligman. Learned helplessness is the state of being when an animal, in its repetitive responses to escape an adverse situation or an abhorrent event, realizes that whether it responds or not, there is no escape from the adverse situation. It then stops responding as nothing does matter. In other words, the animal had learned helplessness. Now, this is something, this phenomenon, we see that in human lives also. We find that young people, adolescents, many a times they give up on life because they have learned helplessness. They have learned that nothing they do helps them out of that situation. And that is why the discovery of learned helplessness had far-reaching importance for Seligman and his colleagues, because human beings have learned helplessness in many situations, because of which they have endless sufferings. Now, following the discovery of learned helplessness, Seligman tried to study learned helplessness in his clinical work with patients who were suffering from anxiety, who were suffering from depression. But I must make it clear that learned helplessness is not depression. It is a situation where something is not working, and that is why you stop responding. Now, when he carried out his studies and controlled experiments on helplessness, on his clinical work or the patients that he was working on, what conclusively made an appearance every time was the feeling of control that the person had in situations, and also helplessness. But what was also apparent to Seligman was that not all people gave way to depression or to anxiety, but there were some who grew stronger because of their experiences with adverse situations and events to which they had learned helplessness.